Kevin, what's up, buddy?
Hey man, how's it going?
It's going okay. Your voice sounds great. So I'm going to let you talk for the next 45 minutes because I don't feel good because one of my kids brought something home from grade school and I think I have a fever. But hey, I'm not here to complain. I'm just here to listen to you talk.
So bringing viruses home. So
Bringing viruses home. You know what that's like, right?
now that I have teenagers who I am actively trying to teach to vibe code, the viruses are totally different. Like
Oh,
getting my 16-year-old not to run OpenClaw on his school MacBook. Like, what are you doing?
yeah, you're going to have some different types of vulnerabilities in your family. Yeah, I think I might have opened up Pandora's box with some stuff I did with my IT things this weekend. We're gonna get into how we spend our weekends, not with our children or our spouses, but in front of our computers. Yeah, you sent me a bunch of interesting messages over the weekend with something you've been working on. You've been on this deep dive on Claude Code, trying to see if a non-coder could actually build something usable. And I got to say, the Loom video you sent me, I think I needed to watch it 6 or 7 times to understand what the hell you were doing because it didn't look like the initial lead magnet that you were working on. What the hell did you make? What have you been up to?
All right. The first note I have to make is that my family was totally out of town, so I was left to my own devices.
Right. Sure. Okay.
This is how I chose to spend.
I'm a good human. I see my kids.
Like my family-less weekend. I'm like, you know what I should do? I should just vibe code all weekend long and see if I can build something. Hackathon style. Yeah, because you know what, as somebody who's technical but more on like the product side of things, I've never really gotten to play in a real hackathon before, so
it's your day to shine.
Yeah. So okay, last week we were talking about this lead magnet thing that I built, and I was really proud at it. Like, by all means, check it out. The goal of a lead magnet is to provide some value, right? So, I don't know, whatever you're doing, provide some value, like a white paper or guidance or something that's like just a little taste of what your organization does. And the quid pro quo is that people give you their email and then they sign up and, cool. Like, you kind of have some permission to market. I've always felt it's a pretty genuine marketing approach because you are trying to give value, right? You're not just trying to scam them off their email and then bombard them.
I'll throw this out really fast because Alex Hermosi says your lead magnet should be so good that you actually feel bad about giving it away for free. Oh, there it is. He's holding up the book, the $100 million offers. You should spend all weekend vibe coding. That's how good your lead magnet should be.
Basically, yes. So, but it is a genuine approach to creating value. And the limitations on the type of value that you can create are that you just only have so much time. And generally it turned into like a white paper. And okay, cool. That could be valuable to the right audience, but you're not necessarily giving them exactly what they wanted. So the leap that I had, given what Ascend does, was I want to create a ton of value for my customers in my lead magnet such that they can really solve a problem. Be it a really complicated problem that could take them a couple of weeks or a really simple problem in their business. So I created this dynamic lead magnet that led them through some questions about their business and their tech familiarity and their stack and whatever. And it led to a highly detailed a document form. So it's
like a generative report that was custom based on their answers.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So go to launchpad.ascendlabs.ai. You can go through it, and it will give you a practical thing that you can do today if you wanted to, that is legit, that will solve some problems, get you on the road to AI automation. And I was really excited about it because I had also built in like some email functionality, because the other thing you see with lead magnets is, okay, you filled out a lead magnet that's like, that gives you a white paper of 10 ways to comply with the EU AI Act or whatever. So you get this document but that's not exactly what you were looking for. But yet the emails that you're going to get from a marketing perspective are all they can really do is be like, let us tell you more about the EU AI Act. And instead, I wanted this experience to be really dynamic
Like
for
custom
customers.
custom
Yeah.
to the information the user put in
So
there.
super customized. So every single email I'm sending out is tied directly to the use case that the person walked through in their business. And I'm continuing to add value. So it'll send a few emails on day 2, on day 5, on day 7. And those are all going to be completely unique and tied to the person's business and the person's use case. Like, it's kind of mind blowing, like that. But that's not what I built. That's what I built the previous weekend.
Can I ask you a quick question about that lead magnet before you move on to the
Yeah.
completely batshit crazy thing you built over the weekend? So if this is a custom report every time and the sequence is also custom, first of all, like, what model are you using to generate that?
I am using Sonnet 4.6. So
Okay.
you want to use the most capable, highest thought model that's also going to be cost effective
That was
behind
my
the
second
scenes.
question. So on that cost efficacy, what do you know, like, your average cost per complete output when you have the initial report and the sequence combined?
It's something I'm building right now, but it's going to be pennies.
Okay.
At the end of the day, it's going to be pennies. It won't be
Nice.
dollars.
Millions of pennies now.
Millions of pennies. Yes, exactly. Big stacks of pennies. But had I run it even on Opus, the way that it's built, so Opus is the cutting edge Claude model. So Opus 4.6. What?
It's the pricey one.
It's the pricey one.
Yeah.
In that case, I actually still think it would have been reasonable. It would probably have been like a quarter, like 25 cents to 50 cents. Now, if you're going to put out 100,000 of them, obviously that's going to break the
Right.
bank. But if
I
you're really
deploy
only
like
going to put out,
100,000 sub agents to go do your lead magnet and bankrupt
yeah.
you.
So, obviously variable costing in AI is important because I don't just if I build the PDF once that does whatever, I've built it and it doesn't cost me anything to send the new PDF, right? But if I'm developing a custom solution every single time somebody comes to my site, then yeah, that's always going to have some sort of a variable cost. So as an operator, you have to figure out what is the balance between the level of output you're giving and the need of your customer and the variable cost. And if
which
you're
is a moving target, to be fair as well, right? Like, that's the other piece of it. It's a moving target.
If you're selling something that has a really, really high value on a per customer basis, then it probably isn't a big deal either. But gosh, there's so many like sub points here, but noting that the rabbit holes will continue until you tell me to stop. That noting that today's best model possible, like Opus 4.6, will be tomorrow's also ran model. And calibrating at the best, most effective, most cost-effective model. We're now at this point, and this kind of all ties into SaaSpocalypse, where this is an amazing set of models that are also pretty cost-effective, and they will be tomorrow's cheap models. So when the market's freaking out, in part, it's looking at, oh my gosh, this is going to be the commoditized model of tomorrow, and that means that it's going to unlock all of this capability that we couldn't do before. All right. So the app I built was not just the landing page thing, or the lead magnet, but I could have just like copied it and then made other lead magnets on top of it. But I realized that was going to be kind of kludgy. So what I wanted to build was a lead magnet builder internally, such that my team, if they have an idea, even for just like this podcast, they can spin up a lead magnet for a webinar, for an event, or whatever it is that will provide this level of specificity for them. And then as I got into it and I realized, oh, heck, I'm actually building a SaaS here. This is a product that I would have paid for. I would have paid a lot of money for this in the past to have this level of output. That's amazing, right? So I challenged myself on my family-free weekend to dive in and like see if I could build a SaaS, not just the app, but the full product end to end. So starting from the landing page, going into the user experience, building what that structure was going to look like to do this, tying it into a backend, Supabase, and
Right.
then launching it and deploying it.
So,
So,
so real fast,
go ahead.
Kevin, just so we don't lose anybody, because when I watched the Loom video you sent me, I'm like, what is going on here? If you if you had to condense what it is that you then produced, what would that elevator pitch be? Is it a SaaS product that builds lead magnets for different companies, different verticals?
Yes. So
Okay.
it is a SaaS product that builds custom, multi-step, highly enriched lead magnets based on an individual brand and its individual needs via a couple of different ways. You can
That
literally
do
just
the thing you initially set out to do, correct?
what was that?
That actually do the thing that you initially set out to do, but in a multi-tenant format, where
In
you
a
could actually
multi-tenant format, as
onboard
in
people, have them transact, get a subscription, and then I've got my chain of 20 shoe stores, and I want lead magnets for my website and my marketing, and I could subscribe to your product. Is that right?
Exactly. So
Okay.
just in my back end testing, I've built lead magnets for a warehouse. My brother sells boats. So there's a yacht brokerage app that I've built, another lead magnet for a SaaS company, et cetera.
Can,
And
can you just, as you're talking through this, just to make it a little more tangible, can you throw out a few examples of what the platform then kind of spewed out as lead
sure.
magnets?
So
Okay.
for the warehouses, so they do 3PLs, they ship
Yeah.
stuff, right? If you are shipping stuff in your business, you run an e-commerce business, like it's a really expensive, really time-consuming area of your business. So if you're the CEO of the warehouse, you want to educate people about like friction and reducing costs in their business. So I the experience would be you basically chat with it about what you're trying to create, and it leads you all the way through the process of creating a custom lead magnet.
Do you
Uh,
have to have the idea for the lead magnet, or does it give you ideas for the lead magnet?
so it also gives you ideas for the lead
Okay.
magnet. It has
I
it,
think that's honestly where most people get stuck. Like, we talk about lead magnets and Alex Hermosi and $100 million offers.
mhm.
Like, everybody in the world's heard of it, but I still have conversations with people on the regular where I talk about a lead magnet, a value ladder, an offer, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" Right? So I think
Mhm.
most people, especially people in 3PL, for example, may not be using lead magnets and have no idea where to start. Right? So I think that's a really important part to hone in on, is
Well,
that
this
discovery
this is
part.
part of what's amazing about this is there are actually three ways to do it. The first way is give me some ideas and then build it. Okay. And that's based on your website. So enter your website, the website of the
Okay.
3PL, goes to the website, figures out that you're a 3PL, and then comes up with 5 suggestions of lead magnets that could make sense. Cool. Click on one of them, it's going to build it. The other way is I have an idea, let's chat through it. And it gives you guidance on what makes a good lead magnet, on the types of things that you want to cover. And then the third way is more manual. Like you want to have it very specific. You want to be asking very specific questions, and they all kind of end up in the same place, such that you can tweak it under the hood. And in all cases, it also develops that custom enriched outbound, which we both have played with Clay. So
Yep.
Clay is an email enrichment platform that
Super
allows you
easy
to
to
pull
figure out.
data.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, Clay is okay.
Sarcasm. Yeah.
Sarcasm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. I was going to say Clay is actually really complicated to get right.
yeah.
Um, I essentially built a custom version of Clay within the system, such that every outbound email is unique. And now all of that data goes into the CRM. The real
And just to be clear, this is content that you're creating. You're not actually sending an email sending platform inside of this, are you? Because that's a
at the
whole other
moment,
can of worms.
the easiest way to do this was to tie it to HubSpot and then
Okay.
create
Like an automation,
automations
like
within
a
HubSpot.
sequence.
So I also built the HubSpot integration app that allows that to provision on a really easy basis for people who don't really know how to use HubSpot, such that their emails can trigger that way. But I realized, oh heck, not everybody has HubSpot. So I both
Right.
need to provision their ability to use Zoho or Pipedrive or whatever they're using,
Sure.
um, for like future features, but also for like, let's just say it's a small real estate agent or my
Right.
brother, the boat broker, who doesn't have like a sophisticated CRM. It needed a CRM. So, okay, cool. now I'm going to build a CRM right into it.
God, dude.
Like, you should be getting the gist of why the market's completely freaked out, because here I am on a 20-hour sprint, and I not only build the lead magnet, but I built the builder of the lead magnet and casually built a CRM and an enrichment platform and an integration platform with HubSpot, coming from a technical but non-developer
That
background.
is bananas. That's bananas. So here's what I'll throw out there. You always call me a developer. I'm not a developer. I have an agency with 100 developers, but my background in development, like when I was doing programming, we're talking, 15 years ago, doing motion control for like factory automation and robotics. It's a very, very different world than the stuff that we're talking about right now. But now working in that world, the thing that you're talking about building, right? Just a year ago would have been probably a minimum of $100,000 of development time to put something like that together. The fact that you got as far as you did, and that you're maybe a weekend away from accepting credit cards on a multi-tenant SaaS platform is something to take note of. Like, that is bananas. I mean, I know you, I know you're technical. You are more technical than the average bear, but I also know you're not a developer, and that's crazy. Like, that's absolutely crazy. Just so I'm clear too with what you built, because I'm so curious and I can't wait to play around with this thing. Are you leaning on the connected CRM to actually do the email sequence for this lead magnet?
Yes. So
Okay.
Nurture email 1, nurture email 2,
Right.
nurture email 3, that will trigger based on the CRM activation, versus the gut check I had was, okay, I could have all of this cool data and I could move it over to HubSpot, and then the user would have to do something with HubSpot Breeze, which is their built-in AI, to interpret that data and try and do something custom. And I wanted control, and I wanted the user to have control over what was happening at that data coming out of the lead magnet, such that they can get their custom emails into the sequence.
Right.
Obviously, it hasn't hit the ground yet, but I can, as a recovering marketer, I can guarantee you that I will get a higher response rate off of this level of customization. That
It's a
doesn't.
different game.
It's
That's
a different game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
absolutely. In this world where it's impossible to get people to respond to
A
emails,
recovering marketer who just spent his whole weekend building a marketing tool. Anyways,
building the tool, not well. I did build the website too. Like,
you're a damn marketer. You're a damn marketer.
I wish
I could marketer, always a marketer.
I wish I could say that my brother listens to our show, but I sort of had this moment as I was going back and forth with him. I really want him to. I want him to like
He's
help
just
build
going to take the
business.
spoils of your work. He's not going to listen to this show.
Well, of course not. I mean, he's my brother, right? But basically, I started describing what I was casually building for him. So it's called LeadWorks AI.co. Like, it's a yacht brokerage like version of it, and it has like a Sora generated funny video, and it has like all of the pieces. Like, it's not, the dots aren't all connected there. And I'm showing him all of this, and he's like, oh yeah, we have a lead collection form on our website. I'm like, dude, like, I just gave you the keys to a Ferrari, and you're like, thanks for the left-handed screwdriver.
Yeah, I'll just stick with this. Hold on. Does anybody have some mittens I could put on first before I pick up the screwdriver?
Like,
yeah. Okay, so I'm going to get really meta here for a second. Not Meta the company, but HubSpot the company, as far as Meta, because you talked about this integration to HubSpot, and HubSpot famously has a bazillion lead magnets out there. So Podcast has a whole podcast, a HubSpot podcast network, right? And there's just shows popping up. It feels like every week there's another HubSpot podcast show, right? Every single episode on every single show in this big network then puts out a lead magnet. And I'm always really curious, what does a big company with zillions of dollars of marketing money do for their lead magnets? And the answer is nothing really that impressive, man. When you talked about how, it's a report or a white paper or whatever, that's most of all of these lead magnets. So one thing they don't do is there's no real gating. It's on, the lead magnet itself is on a public page. And so you go to the landing page in the show notes of a podcast, you click on it, you put in your email. There's no like check your inbox, get the link, or wait for the sequence to come in. It just redirects you to a landing page that either has something in HTML or a PDF you download, or like an embedded Google Sheet with, here's 100 business ideas that you can start with AI that, by the way, AI created for you. So nothing really where I'm like, yeah, I think for the person off the street who is completely new to that subject, they're probably like, wow, this is really cool. This is pretty useful. But you're talking about something that's completely custom for every user that goes and gives you their email address. And I don't think I've seen something that really ties together the initial lead magnet with some sort of a nurture sequence that happens afterwards. So I have seen like a lot of people who will start a newsletter, for example. Instead of just getting that welcome email, they get a sequence of welcome emails. But they're not just like, hey, how you doing? Remember, you subscribe to the newsletter. They're really delivering a piece of value with every bit of that newsletter. But it's a sequence. It's a predetermined programmatic sequence that was written once, just like most lead magnets are created once. They're not significantly different from user to user. It's just all the same stuff, right? And what you're talking about is the initial deliverable is completely custom for that person that gave you the email. And then they get a sequence of emails with more value for X number of days or weeks that have more custom value, which is really cool. And then you took that and said, well, why don't I just make that into a service that any business can have? So my question is, like, that thing that I just described, is that basically what somebody would get if they subscribe to this SaaS product that you built last weekend? Or is it a completely different basket every single time? Like, what is the range of what somebody can get out of this?
That's a really good question. I don't think it's capped. I mean, okay. I honestly think, okay, I'm biased, but I created my own dream product that I've always wanted as a marketer to do this.
Right. Because they all get stale too, right? I mean, I've heard of people building like a really simple lead magnet, and it's kind of like back to the Hermosi thing when he talks about, oh, it should be so good that you feel bad about giving it away for free. He also talks about this idea of a grand slam offer, right? Like when you have this offer that is just really, really hitting, sometimes it's the only offer you need for the existence of a business. Like it just keeps producing, it keeps printing money, right? I've heard people talk about lead magnets like that too, where they make a simple PDF, but it offers a ton of value and people love it and they use it for years. It's crazy. This one is dynamic. Like this one just keeps reinventing itself, which is pretty wild. And so like as somebody who's trying to find that grand slam lead magnet, that kind of gets tough, right? You're sitting there scratching your head being like, okay, here's my business. This is my ideal client profile. What am I going to do? I need another idea for a lead magnet. And so this is kind of like an idea machine for lead magnets that takes it a step further and then produces that asset for you.
You're incrementing up on the baseline quality that's going to be required in order to be a marketer. So like this is going to be what's expected going forward. And, we've been talking about this for years now, like that, oh my gosh, nobody's going to get away with just like mail merge stuff anymore. Now customization is the floor.
Account. I'm a marketer.
Well, so customization is now the floor. Now hyper customization is the floor, and hyper volume or value that you're actually giving. So, this is a real product. Like, again, brother's not listening. He's a sales guy. I'm like, buddy, like I just built you a business in a box as far as making your business better. Now go help me sell this to other people who look like you. And then we'll do it for realtors and we'll do it for business brokers and we'll do it for all of these other verticals. So anybody listening, if that sounds exciting, drop me a line because I'm actually not a SaaS sales guy, but I just built a SaaS.
This just went from AI at work to AI at Kevin's new little side hustle. That's a direction we just took. I want to point out like one differentiation before people get like too excited. I mean, I love this stuff, man. I can't wait to play around with this and then build a competitor. But make it 10 times better. Um, but I think that, you know, a lot of people also, including me, have fallen into this trap many, many times because I'm not a marketer in the sense of I'm not a performance marketer like these ninjas out there who can somehow just command loads of traffic and just point that traffic at whatever direction they want, right? So a lead magnet is also only as good as the traffic that you can point to it, right? And that's what we call the top of the funnel, right? Who's coming into that top of the funnel? As soon as they fall into that funnel, then they get your lead magnet. And now they're kind of moving down towards the bottom of the funnel because they filled out a form, they're in your sequence, you're kind of building rapport with them. But that top part, it's funny. I've been thinking a lot in terms of you know, is there something out there that is also going to be a major unlock for that? Because that's really the first part of the equation to solve, right? Is how do you get people to that lead magnet to begin with? And I'm just curious, as you ripped through an entire weekend and a you know, $500,000 in cloud tokens, uh, how you're thinking about that, or, you know, as a recovering marketer, as you call yourself, the opportunities that you see out there with what is happening with AI right now in marketing that is going to solve that part of the problem. Because, you know, I mean, you and I have gone back, you know, a couple of years now talking about like, oh man, do we go all in on personal brand? Do we start like making fools out of ourselves on Instagram videos? You know, all in the interest of that, solving that problem, right? Of how do you create that traffic to the top of the funnel?
The answer is it's going to get it's already extremely hard, and it's really only going to get harder
Okay.
as boy, there's so many different rabbit holes here, but we've
I
talked
know.
before about, you know, zero click commerce and what's it going to mean as
Yeah.
people are looking for services like ours really
Is
only
SEO
through the
dying or
LLM.
just changing, right? Like just all of this stuff that I mean, I feel like with every conversation we have, where I was like, it's early. Oh, let's talk about agents. No, don't talk about that. It's early, right? It's it's true. It's all really early. The stuff is evolving so quickly in real time right in front of us. And this thing that you did, I mean, that to me, as far as that, you know, that little part of the funnel just sitting right below the lip of it up top, like, wow, that's a major unlock. And then so what's to come right above it? Like how much is that going to change? How much of a premium is the ability to be able to command the traffic to get into your funnel and start to participate in your lead magnets going to really start to take off in the coming months here?
So there's a truism in Silicon Valley that basically 40 cents of every dollar that's raised or was raised through venture went to a mix of Google, Meta, and other platforms in terms of advertising,
I've
which is
heard that too. Yeah. Yeah.
part of why those companies are just so massive as far as
Yeah.
their ad optimization. And it's very hard to compete if you don't have those dollars to throw at it.
Right.
There was a time period where Meta in particular, if you were to roll back the clock to like 2014, 2015, Facebook, um, basically you put a dime in and you got 2.5 dimes out, or you might get 5 dimes out at the
Right. You
other,
made your
other
little
end.
money printing machine.
You made your little money printing machine.
Yeah.
And yes, can I please have 2014 or 2015 back? Because I
Yeah.
would do things differently knowing that in
I
retrospect.
I know. And when people would find that little unlock, and I'm not making this up, I know a lot of them, they would go get Amex gold cards and just maximum. I mean, you hook your credit card up to your Meta business manager, and you spend as much as you can once you find that formula, and you hope nothing changes right in the middle of your campaign because it can go from raining money to bankruptcy really quick when you're playing that game of leverage.
But the reason I bring it up is one thing that's happening is that the major media platforms are leaning hard into AI optimization. And one of the unlocks or realizations that Meta in particular has had is that consumers don't seem to care if something is AI generated or not, as long as it's scratching their itch in a highly, highly customized way, which is basically what I'm doing a little bit farther down the funnel is I'm
Down the funnel,
scratching
right?
that specific itch.
Right.
So
Personalization.
the put a dime in and get some multiples of dimes out model is what Facebook is going for. Again, And, advertising needs to be profitable, and they recognize it needs to be profitable. They also control the bid auction. They control all of the different pieces from from a monopolistic perspective. So, like, they can kind of maneuver within that world
Right.
to squeeze as much of a toll out of you as
And,
possible.
and Google too, right? It's been called a duopoly, that we really have
Yeah.
these two platforms in order to command traffic.
But you as a brand, you as an operator out there, like, know that using some of these new AI generated ad units actually works. And it'll allow you to take a single concept and elaborate on that concept with 30, 40 different ad units that are being tested to
Can you break down ad units really quick for the non-marketers out there?
Oh my goodness. So
Yeah.
ads. So just the ad you see when you're scrolling through Facebook and it's about, whatever Golf Pro thing. The ad you're seeing there is an ad unit. Increasingly behind the scenes. Okay, you're talking about, if you're talking about the new golf club or whatever. I'm not a golfer, so I'm going to totally mangle this. But like, you're going to have certain demographics that are likely to pay whatever they're going to pay for it. So, high end, generally male demographics with these characteristics, et cetera, et cetera. And you'll have an ad concept, which formally your ad team would have all circled around, and you would have ideated on headlines and concepts and whatever. And then you'd put it to your creative team, and you would have made 10 ad concepts. And even before AI, just 2-3 years ago, you would have run 10 of those, and then you would have chosen winners. And like, oh, ad
Based
one
on,
and
based on
7.
deploying ads against those creatives and seeing which
Yeah.
ones performed.
And seeing who
Could be a
clicks.
combination of copy or the video you shot or a static shot or a graphic. Could have been a million things, right? And you try to pick the winners.
Yep. And if you're good at that game, you're tracking what's working. Is it the image? Is it the copy? You want to control the variables, and people don't really realize how sophisticated the ad creation is in a brand that's really leaning into it.
Yeah.
And now it's been simplified. And when you simplify it and you allow that, like, little golf club maker to basically come up with a single concept and then let Meta figure out what the right demographic is, that actually, we have a real opportunity with women of, who are like 35 to 45 who live in the southeastern US.
Based on the creatives that you submitted.
Based on the creatives you've submitted, and it will morph it into AI generated output. This is kind of early days, but that's where it's heading. So I can have a budget of $10,000 a month or whatever it is I'm spending on advertising. And if I'm building that budget around Facebook's needs, I have a reasonable supposition that I'm going to at least break even or have a predictable ad budget, which has always been the problem. Right. With like a CFO of an advertising company, a company that advertises, is the CFO wants to have an ad budget, and the ad buyer needs to chase their instinct and chase where the market's going. And they might blow out the budget one month and they might underperform the next. And it's really, really hard. But theoretically, we might be coming to an era where it's pretty predictable, at least for bigger brands. So that it's a long-winded way of answering the question that the platforms themselves are at least promising that they can yield more. But now that we're in this era where anybody can create anything, it will get increasingly crowded. So who are going to be the individual winners?
That was the other part of the economic equation I was going to point out, is that these creatives historically haven't been really inexpensive to get out there either, right? Especially if you're shooting video and you need a stylist and a videographer and a set and lighting and all this stuff. Now people are pumping this stuff out in volume, right? So when you're making those bets, when you're trying to see what's going to land, and you might have been like, okay, I've got 4 directions because that's my budget and I got to save some money for the actual ad spend itself. Now the creatives are costing pennies or dollars, or depending on how much time and tokens you're spending on them, but you can have an immense amount of creative horsepower to then test against on a platform that will give you more informed decisions as to like what you should do next, right? So it is really changing the game there.
It doesn't work for everyone. I work with a big brand that it has to be very sensitive about its messaging because it's dealing with sensitive life type topics. And you can't, if the brand has really tight guardrails, the AI is going to violate those
Wouldn't
guardrails.
you say that's more of an edge case, though, in the
I think so.
breadth of most brands,
Yeah,
though? Because the stuff that you see in your feed when you're scrolling through Instagram is like every direct to consumer, whatever, that they got your number and you're like, oh my gosh, I need a little timer on my chest that reminds me to go touch grass because I've been on Claude Code for 20 hours.
for
I need that
example.
thing. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wait, is that just me? Did I get that ad? Yeah. So
Yeah.
you touched on one thing, and this is just going to be a Kevin's product AI marketing podcast now. But
Who
you
needs
talked
a
about
lead magnet? Everyone needs a lead magnet.
you talked about paid, right? I'm
Yeah.
gonna get these creatives together, and I'm gonna pay money to get traffic into the top of my funnel, right? And I'd say that's the most reliable way to drive traffic because you've got this little dial, right? And you've got your creatives inside that dial. And then you've got that money of, okay, I'm going to see if I can build that little machine that I put the dollar in and I get $2 out, right? That's the most reliable, controllable way. But there's other ways to get traffic as well. And you and I have danced around the topic of organic, of content marketing, of personal brand, and all these other things. And I'm curious if you see AI changing that game as well. If so, how? And I feel like if the answer is yes, and I think it is yes, I think there's going to be a window. I think there's going to be an arbitrage window with some of the tools that are coming online right now to make that possible. And it'll be one of those games of cat and mouse where, there'll be some opportunities, and then the powers that be, in other words, the rails that get those messages out to people to bring them into the top of your funnel will catch on and put the smack down. And then there'll be other loopholes and people will try other stuff. But it's moving so fast right now, as we keep talking about ad nauseum, that those windows will keep opening up. So I think there's going to be this other real emerging opportunity for directing traffic aside from the paid part.
Not sure what's part of that to respond to, except yes.
I just gave you like 1,000 threads to pull on, but
yeah. So
take your pick, recovering marketer.
I mean, noise is real, right? That now, as the bar continues to lower for ideas and quality content and thoughts and whatever, let's say that internally, I had the realization that the best clients that I have all come from me actually getting on a stage and talking to people. That it's that personal connection that hits above the noise. And don't get me wrong, we can make content based on that, and that content gives me the next opportunity to get on the next stage or in the next boardroom or whatever it is. But it's tough to crack through the noise otherwise. So I don't have a great answer to it, but that's one of the realizations that we had, that it doesn't get more personal than standing in front of a room of interested people and being able to express that in a really human way. And all the other tools on a continuum probably need to be focused on me talking to more people.
I would argue, I'd push back a little bit and say that, yes, the in-person stuff is really powerful. And I've got lots of thoughts about a renaissance of analog and in-person and all sorts of other things as AI takes over our entire universe. But, I would also argue that a screen is a room in a sense, right? A screen is a room. It's holding somebody's attention. They're spending time there. You're still building some kind of rapport because they are basically spending their time listening to you, watching you. That could be in an Instagram feed. It could be a blog that you wrote. It could be a podcast that you put out, right? You're essentially doing the same thing, but the difference is you can do that at scale on screens. You can't scale yourself in a bunch of rooms talking to people one-on-one. And I think kind of threading the needle back to Hormozi, right? This guy obviously is at a point where he could spend his time doing whatever he wants, and he's going to pick the most high leverage things to do. He spends way more time talking in front of cameras than he does on stages. Like that's, but again, to loop it back to economics, like that costs money. Like that costs real money. I heard rumors of him spending north of $200,000 just on video production every month, right? Let alone what does that distribution look like? Like how does he get it out there? I mean, and the size of the team that makes it so that if you are in entrepreneurship, every time you open up your phone on any channel, like something of his pops up into your feed, right? That all takes money. So my question is more about, just like you are discovering this arbitrage with further down the funnel with creating these highly personalized lead magnets that are generative, are there going to be opportunities for directing organic traffic? And maybe that is just content marketing. But the problem for me is, as I think through this stuff, I think AI has already answered a lot of and if you do it right, how do you produce all this stuff at a much greater output than you could have even a couple of years ago, in a tasteful way that looks real, that looks good, and it's engaging and you're offering value, right? I think we have that already. But as far as the distribution of it, how do you start to get it out in front of people in direct traffic where you're not having to give Meta a credit card every time? That to me is a super interesting question that I've been thinking a ton about lately. And so, yeah, recovering marketer, like, do you have thoughts on that part of it?
Well, I do think authenticity matters. SLOP is bad. You're just like spraying and praying with a whole bunch of really average or under average material. So, I mean, one of the ways that we manage that, and I'm not sure we talked about this on the show before, is, I'm prolific online. Like there's a lot of writing. Am I using AI? Of course I'm using AI, but nothing goes out without having a dose of Kevin on top of it.
For sure.
So in being able to inject not the LLM's take about something, but like my take or your take, which in part, like this, we are giving our takes right now during this podcast.
That's right.
In a way that is informed by sort of what's going on out there, but these are our own takes. These takes are more valuable than the LLM takes. So that authenticity, I think, comes through. But it becomes hard to scale to the right people at the right time. So I certainly don't have it figured out, except that, leading with authenticity. My friend, Ezra Firestone, he's another like Hormozy guy. His marketing tagline, he sold this company, but it was, give generously and profit at the end of the day. And that's part of why I'm so excited about this lead magnet thing. I know it's sort of geeky.
And how to monetize it?
Well, it's not even the monetization. It's that I legitimately want to give. It's actually my personality.
How do I get this out to the world for $29.99 in a month?
Maybe this is an item for therapy, but just the way that I'm built, like I love providing value, and I want to provide real value to people, and hopefully that like comes through. And I tend to put the value equation above the profit equation, which, my wife would probably have opinions about. But sure. Like, I want to build good products that solve people's problems. And I've never been more equipped to do that in a genuine way. And if you can carry that genuineness all the way through the process, like that's just my bet. Like I'm never going to be the Hormozy on a gazillion screens. Like that's not even the goal. But if I can build a loyal tribe around me, then it's referrals and it's stages and things like that.
Sure. I only brought him up because I look at him as the extreme. It's kind of like, people say, oh man, I really want to start going to the gym and getting in shape. And I'm like, look at this bodybuilder. You're probably never going to inject a bunch of steroids and eat 7 times a day, but look at the extreme. Did I say bodybuilder? And it just happens.
I just held up the book, and Hormozy's on the back of it, and he's a beefcake,
just looking jacked with veins coming out, and 2 million deciliters of Decadurabon flowing through his veins. But yeah, like, I mean, looking at that as the extreme, and of course, you're not going to spend a couple $100,000 a month on video production and all of that nonsense, right? But I think what you said about the authenticity, but then also having this tool set behind you, right? There is a sweet spot, right? There is this kind of way that you can use things to inspire you to better your workflows and everything else. I mean, I would argue to say, as somebody who also writes a ton and creates a ton of content, that going back before the days of generative AI, I would say that I have like a 75, 80% boost in everything that I'm capable of doing, even though, like what you mentioned, I'm the final say on top of all of it, right? Like I'm going through everything. It's my words, everything else. But as far as just idea generation and building out this scaffolding and the workflows and everything else, it's already a superpower. Like it is already a superpower.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just it's amazing times. And okay, so what are the summations here for from sort of AI at work perspective? I would say we've been saying this for a couple of weeks, and the markets have been freaking out based on just we've crossed a threshold here where this stuff has gone from toys to, oh my gosh, you can actually really build things. And there is this window of time where anybody with an idea and some gumption can now build what they want. And that will eventually lead to a lot of noise and a lot of commoditization
The
out
last
there.
ingredient after gumption was 20 hours of free time on the weekend.
Oh, so it's but it's not easy, right? I think that's another takeaway, that this isn't auto magic here. That I
Yeah,
wasn't like, oh, I
it's
have this
real
great
work. It's
idea.
a lot of iteration, a lot of back and forth, things not working the first 10, 20 times. Like that's
Yeah,
part of the
no,
game.
a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
many hours. And I think I commented this in our notes that when I'm thinking about how this played out for me, yeah, it was 20 hours, and I learned so much during that 20 hours. You and I have this back and forth about like Clawbot, OpenClaw, and et cetera. And I'm choosing not to care about OpenClaw at the moment
Yeah.
because I feel strongly that the tips and tricks that you're painfully learning for me are not necessarily going to be relevant in the way that it plays out. Whereas having a good sense of system architecture, I know that sounds intimidating, but being forced to do the front end and the back end and launch something and then connect payments, I mean, isn't that what all SaaS and product is built on? Like that's
Yes.
fundamental.
Yes. But, if you distill it down a little bit more, what are you ultimately trying to do? I would say you're trying to save time and money. You know, you want something that would just a year ago, I mean, just a year ago, cost more money than you were willing to pay to get that thing, right? So you're trying to save time and money. And, I would argue with my OpenClaw follies, which we're not even going to have time to get into because I spent as much time on that and configuring an actual dedicated machine in my office to do this after going the whole VPS route that we did a couple of weekends ago to again try to push it just a little bit more. But I have the same end objective. Like I'm going down that road because I see an opportunity today where I could save a bunch of time and money if it works. I just think what you were playing with, which I think is really probably the smart move if I had to pick one or the other, is it's just much more baked than what I was playing with. Like I was playing with something that it's very likely that it could go very wrong and cost me time and money, or a much better solution is going to come out weeks from now that would not make you sit up all weekend and try to just figure it out from a bunch of YouTube videos and chats with Gemini. So yeah, but ultimately same goal, like exact same goal. I've got some use cases in my head where I can't think of another way to get through these use cases without something that's truly agentic, that doesn't have the guardrails. Like I haven't found anything. So I'm like, could I? It's again, this is all curiosity driven, right? You're like, hey, could I make a lead magnet? Then that led to the next bit of curiosity. Can I make an entire SaaS product that produces lead magnets? Like amazing, right? And I kind of started the same way. Like, oh, can I have this agent on this machine? And oh, wait a minute, can I teach it this skill? Can it repeat that skill reliably? Can I now deploy that skill to do a bunch of workflows that were taking up bits of my day or the time of people I was paying, right?
So you the listener though, like again, we're playing with this and we're starting to build stuff. Hopefully that you can learn from it. But I'm there are two different tracks that I'm telling people with vibe coding right now. If you just want to dabble and you want to put together something that's pretty straightforward, use something like Lovable. And Lovable gets expensive to scale, so there's a lot of reasons why you won't use it long term. But if you want to build an app, it will help you automatically do the back end and the front end and all of the authentication and all of the different pieces, so you can focus more on just the idea. And from a product design perspective, that's brilliant. So you're focusing on the idea, not the fuss.
Yeah.
If you're building for more scale, I think that muscling through Claude Code is now at a point where it is both accessible and it's still the things that you're learning are going to be useful, informative.
Claude Cowork too, right? I mean, Claude Cowork has gotten so good as well, right? And that's a little more approachable.
So yeah, Claude Cowork kind of sits in between. And there's this, my friends who have been more production vibe coding in using IDEs with Cursor or Windsurf or whatever it is, they're like, wow, you're so lucky you kind of skipped all of that flailing. And I was like, well, I was too busy. So I kind of skipped it. And I walked in right at the right time where the interface aligns pretty well with my technical ability. So just the basic stack here, it's not expensive. I mean, when you think about the sort of value you can create and what you would pay a dev to do this, it's Claude Max. So that's the $100 plan. Okay. On a Mac, it's Claude Desktop, which is included, but it sits locally on your machine.
Yep.
You need to understand GitHub. And okay, now I'm losing people. Oh my gosh, GitHub.
It's not a big deal.
Not a big deal. Not a big deal. It's just where your code goes. Your code goes from here to there. And then you need a backend. So the backend is probably Supabase. So that's $20 a month to get going. Not a big deal. So you're at $120 a month so far. And then you need to be able to launch things. If you just want to run things locally, you can stop right there and it can just run on your Mac and you can build your cool toy. You're not really going to be able to share it, but you can do neat stuff yourself. But if you want to create an app, oh, that's intimidating too. Then you need something like Vercel, which is all of another $20. So we're talking $140 a month in infrastructure, which I know, I get it. Everybody's cheap. They don't want more subscriptions.
Nobody even wants to pay the $20 to have any of the paid models, right?
But yeah, exactly. Everybody's still using free models, right?
Free models.
So, but $140 a month to have all the infrastructure you need to start. It's like the starter kit
to build tools,
to go build stuff,
build tools that you could actually sell theoretically.
Or you can solve real problems in your business. And then you actually, my MO is I have a big fat curved monitor. And on one side, I have Claude Code up. And on the other side, I actually have Cloud Browser up. And I have created a project. We talked about projects in OpenAI or Claude before. You have a project about what you're working on, and you basically are chatting with it. Like, hey, this is what I want to do. What should I do next? This is what I'm seeing.
It's like a little coach, a little coach on your desktop, just kind of guiding you through the whole process, right? And you can give it screenshots and you can paste code in there and say, what's up with this error message? I don't understand what's going on. And even though it is a bit of trial and error, it's such a different time that everybody has access to this little coding coach just sitting on their desktop.
It's funny. What you just said is totally true. Probably one of the key skills here. One is knowing what you want to build and what it's supposed to look like, but the other is copying and pasting. So the amount of screenshots that I've just casually put in as I'm learning about how to deploy something in Vercel, like, oh, that's really intimidating. I'm walking on eggshells, just giving it screenshots. Okay, well, you need to click on that thing and then do this thing and then do this and whatever. It's mind-blowing.
You get really fast at those keyboard shortcuts when you're doing screenshots.
Yeah, exactly. When it's
calluses on your fingers. Yeah.
I haven't actually mentioned this to anybody else, but the other thing that's happening is that we've talked before about training cutoffs and context. Like the models tend to lag 6-8 months behind on what they're trained on. So one key tip is know that and make sure that you're telling Claude or telling GPT to use search. So it's finding the latest and greatest information as opposed to relying on what the stuff looked like. in
Yeah.
the ancient days of 8 months ago,
Yeah.
right? So that's one. The other is just the amount of base information that the LLMs now have about themselves has had 2.5, 3 years to bake in the training. So they actually are much better at understanding themselves at this point of time than they've ever been before. So they're more useful that way. I found, and I hear of this from other people, that I don't need to use like YouTube videos and tutorials anymore. There's no point, because by the time it gets published and it gets to me, it's already obsolete.
It's already
So
dated. Yeah.
it's already dated. So
Yeah.
I'm using the LLM as my co-pilot to help drive itself.
Having it go crawl Reddit threads, for example, for me has been so much more helpful than trying to surf YouTube or look at videos where I'm like, this is, yeah, no, just find the information for me, please. And then give me a little report of what happened this week with this problem I'm trying to solve, because that's how quick it's moving right now.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, this has been super fun. And we talked about nothing else that I really wanted to get to. I had all these notes in a long document. So thanks again, as usual, for just pitching your own product. But I'm excited to play around with it. I think it's super cool. I think it's a really fun idea. And now I understand it better too. So thanks for that. But always fun, buddy. That's the pod. We'll catch up with you again next week. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to send us a question to answer on the show, email me at elijah@spark6.com. That is SPARK, the number 6.com, or Kevin@ascendlabs.ai. To learn more about AI strategy and training for your business, visit Kevin's company, Ascend AI Labs, at ascendlabs.ai. And to learn more about design and development of custom AI solutions, visit my agency at spark6.com. You can also sign up for my free newsletter, AI Framework Friday, by visiting spark6.com/newsletter.